welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast. Got a pretty interesting show for you here today with Fox Sports Radio host Dou Gottlieb giving some really interesting comments on Kobe Bryant and LeBron James. This is one you'll definitely want to get into if you're an NBA fan. But before we get to that, you know what you got to do. If you're here on YouTube already and you haven't, please click that subscribe, that like, and that notification bell so you can be made aware whenever new content drops on the channel. If you want the audio-only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, click the search bar, type in The Format Podcast, and we should come right up. If you're enjoying the content, please give us that like, which is the thumbs up, or give us that 5-star review, and make sure you leave a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm. Make sure you share the show with other sports fans you know that might want to hear a different voice and a different take on things than you normally get from the mainstream sports media. You do all that, you know what happens. Helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. Now let's get right to it. So, Kobe Bryant, the late great, LeBron James, still playing in year 21, putting up crazy numbers. These are two of the greatest NBA players of all time. Like, we know that. There's no argument on that. And there is a constant debate, for whatever reason, about who is the greatest basketball player or greatest NBA player of all time, Michael Jordan or LeBron James. And if you ask me, if there is a debate, which realistically there isn't, but if you ask me, it should not be between LeBron and MJ. It should be between LeBron and Kobe Bryant. And it just should. But for whatever reason, and if you really pay attention, there seems to be an almost concerted effort to erase Kobe Bryant from this discussion and just vault LeBron James past him. And that's odd to me. And that's not something that is going on just because LeBron is, now the all-time scoring leader and he's playing at an incredible level for a guy who's, 38 years old and in year 21 of his NBA career. No, it's not that. I don't know exactly what the reason is. I don't know if it has to do with Kobe Bryant's transgressions and his issues in Eagle, Colorado all those years ago. I don't know if it has to do with, the marketing. I don't know what it has to do with, but for whatever reason, Kobe Bryant has just, they seem to just paint him right out of that argument. And it is what it is. But like I said, that's odd to me. And as you know, I have Michael Jordan head and shoulders above LeBron James for a myriad of reasons, but this isn't really the show to get into that, right? This is not a Michael Jordan versus LeBron James debate show. I've touched on that topic. I've never done a whole show about that, and maybe one of these days I will. The LeBron fans honestly drive me crazy. So, I'm debating on that because it's almost like no matter what evidence you give them or what information, they're just going to be where they are. And, you can give them numbers and put it on the screen and they're going to tell you lied. But I don't know. But anyway, yeah, maybe I'll do that another time. But this is something I found interesting, and I wanted to talk about it more along this LeBron Kobe thing, right? And it's not a direct LeBron versus Kobe who's better, but it's more along the lines. And when you hear Dou Gottlieb's comments, this will be interesting to you. So I was listening to the Dreamers Pro show earlier, one of the shows I listen to every day. I listen to a lot of sports media stuff to get ideas and to kind of hear how other people are putting shows together, whether it's mainstream sports media, independent space, all that. I get a lot of stuff from it. I learn a lot of things on a lot of different levels, and that's really cool. So anyway, one of the shows I listen to on the reg is the Dreamers Pro show. Shout out Charles, shout out Dreamers Pro. You guys are doing great. Thank you for the motivation. Anyway, he mentioned this topic, so I went looking for some more info on it, and it really stuck with me. So I figured this was something that I could do a show about and kind of talk about that as well. So, as you know, LeBron signed with the Lakers a few years ago, and when that happened, it really became a thing because when it comes to the NBA, the city of Los Angeles is a town run by two players, right? If you're a little older, it's Magic Johnson. And if you're in the generation immediately following that, it's Kobe Bryant. Both of those guys won 5 championships in Los Angeles. And between the two of them, that's the argument for greatest Laker of all time. Now, I have it as Magic. The people who are a little younger than me have it as Kobe. I'm not really at odds with you if you say it's Kobe, but I kind of have it as Magic because Magic is the linchpin that started the Lakers and made them into what you see now versus, before he got there, I think they had one championship in Los Angeles, right? One? Yes, they had one championship in Los Angeles. Anyway, so when LeBron announced that he was coming and he came there, a lot of Laker fans weren't super happy about that because, again, by that time, it's a Kobe town, right? And yes, they wanted to win, and LeBron James was going to give him a great opportunity to do that. but they also didn't want him to come there and eclipse Kobe Bryant. Not in my estimation that LeBron James ever could eclipse Kobe Bryant in the purple and gold, but there was some friction there between LeBron fans and Kobe fans and people thinking that maybe LeBron James didn't understand what it took to be a Laker grade and blah, 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 right? So there's the friction. Anyways, Dou Gottlieb, as I mentioned, Fox Sports 1 radio host, had some very interesting comments about a conversation that he had with the late, great Kobe Bryant before he died. Check out what he had to say, and then we'll be back to discuss it. This is really interesting.
Here's the story that I think connects it all together. I wasn't a huge Kobe fan as a player. I just wasn't. I felt like though he played hard on defense, which I respected, and though he wanted to win, like Kobe's default in wanting to win was he just wanted to take every shot. Post-career Kobe was great because he had true perspective on how immature he was for so long and how he treated people at times, and he wanted to evolve out of that. So one night, and I have talked about this, I was fortunate. Kobe and I had been missing each other in terms of talking about youth basketball. He coached his late daughter, also died in the helicopter crash. He coached Gianna, and they had the Lady Mamas, right? And I had my own team and program in the same area, drawing from the same schools. And we would exchange texts and ideas and frustrations, and it was really, really cool. And he'd shoot me a text like, can you grab a drink tonight? No, I had drinks for them at your boy Rome's favorite place, Javier's. Okay. And it was the night before I actually guest hosted Cowherd. And of the things that he talked about, it was LeBron was coming to town. It was already done. And he said to me unequivocally, LeBron does not know, or understand LA. And he's not built for it the way I'm built for it. And so I said, what do you mean? He's like, look, man, I shot those 2 air balls when I was 17, and I thought the world came crashing down. And my reaction to it was, I lived in the gym all summer. Okay, the way in which people reacted to those air balls, shots that I shouldn't have shot, they were bad shots, but I missed by a mile, fueled me my whole career. I took negativity and it fueled me. And when there was negativity with me and Shaq, it fueled me. It's like, that's not what fuels LeBron. He's just built different. He's not the savage competitor that me and Mike are. Like I want to kill. I'm the type of killer that wants to kill you and your whole family. LeBron just wants to be loved, wants to play ball, wants to win games. But he is not the killer that me and Mike are.
Okay, so I thought that those comments were super interesting from Dou Gottlieb. Didn't agree with everything he had to say, but some of the stuff that Kobe said was really, really neat there. I wish we actually had the sound of it from Kobe. Obviously, he's not going to get caught on wax saying that stuff. So there is a degree of, okay, is this 100% true what Gottlieb said? But, him going on the radio and making this up, that would be, I don't know. I would hope that he wouldn't do that. And in fairness, I don't believe that he did. But anyway, I'm sure that some LeBron fans out there are going to say that he's lying. He made that up, right? But anyway, so let's talk a little bit about it. So the first thing I wanted to touch on was Gottlieb saying that when he was talking about Kobe's desire to win, that his default to winning was taking every shot. Now, here's the first place I got to push back, right? So there's yes and no. Obviously, we know that Kobe was going to put that thing up, right? But I don't think it was necessarily a function of wanting to take every shot. I think the part of it was more a function of Kobe Bryant wholeheartedly believed, and he truly had that almost irrational level of confidence that all great players have, that he was the best player on every team he's ever been on by a mile. And he believed that the best opportunity to win in nearly every case was him having the ball. And that's deciding whether or not he's going to shoot it, whether or not he's going to pass it. More often than not, because his skill level was so supremely high, he's going to take the shot, right? And yes, that is different from LeBron, even though I'm sure he feels the same way. Like, our best opportunity to win on any team that I'm on is me having the ball. But in my estimation, my opinion, the difference is LeBron uses that quote unquote make the right basketball play to excuse himself and dodge criticism if things don't work out, right? Like, if he passes it and somebody misses it, well, I made the right basketball play, right? That's his thing. And to those of us who can see through it, it's there. For his diehard fans who, no matter what he says, it's gospel, they're going to go with that. So it works out quite well for him. Um, Kobe and Michael Jordan, I believe they were more willing to shoulder that load and shoulder that blame if they took the last shot or they whatever play they made didn't work out, right? They were willing to do that. I think LeBron is always looking for some way to excuse himself when things don't go the way he thought they should go or the way that other people wanted it to go for him. Okay. Kobe talked about shooting those two air balls at 17 years old as a rookie in the playoffs. So here's what I like. Kobe admitted, according to Gottlieb, that he shouldn't have taken those shots and those shots were bad shots. But what I like even more is that you heard him say he lived in the gym all summer after that. And he used that as fuel for his entire career. Now, the guys with the mindset like the Kobe's and like the Mikes, those guys see those things as opportunities, those things being airballing those two shots when they shouldn't have. They see those as opportunities to prove everybody wrong and get better and get back and show the world, right? LeBron, I think, would have crawled into a shell or said something snippy like what he said immediately following the loss in the 2011 NBA Finals to Dallas. Like, he wouldn't have taken that on his shoulders, and he wouldn't have used that as the fire that he needed, to stoke deep in his belly to drive and show everybody that without doubt he was the best out there, right? And I think that's part of the difference between Kobe and Michael Jordan and LeBron is that they just got a different mindset, right? And so I think that Kobe was right about that. He was right when he talked about something like that not fueling LeBron, or maybe just not in the same way. Maybe failures do fuel LeBron, but they don't fuel him. Again, I've talked about this before. He doesn't seem to be that psychomaniacal competitor that these guys were. He doesn't seem like win at all costs, at all expense, nothing else matters, right? And I'm not saying Kobe and Jordan didn't care about other things. Obviously, they did. They were both men with, wives and children, etc. But it was 1000% clear that this basketball and being the absolute best that they could be and the absolute best in the game was more important to them than anything else. And you don't get the feeling like that with LeBron, right? You just don't. And that desire that LeBron has to be liked or loved is probably the difference. So when Kobe says, again, according to Gottlieb, so going forward, when I say when Kobe says, everything obviously is according to Gottlieb because we don't have the sound of Kobe saying it. We're getting this secondhand. So when Kobe says that LeBron James is not the savage competitor that he and Michael Jordan were, again, he's right. Now, if you've been around long enough to have actually seen Michael Jordan play real time, it was just different. If you've been around long enough to see Kobe Bryant play real time and know what you're looking at because you're old enough to identify it, it was just different. Michael Jordan and Kobe, they wanted to destroy you. And you just don't get that feeling with LeBron. Yeah, LeBron wants to win, right? Because he goes through all these machinations to do so, right? He goes here, he goes there. He gets this guy traded, he gets that guy traded. He brings in this player, he brings in that player. He meddles in the front office, this, that, and the third, right? This has been LeBron James's career. Now, on the court, right? LeBron, he makes fantastic plays. He scores baskets. He makes great passes, rebounds. At one point he defended. He's not the defender that they say he was, but again, that's a different show. Anyway, he does all these things. You can tell LeBron wants to win. He does. Nobody's going to sit here and tell you LeBron doesn't want to win. But again, it's not that end all be all like it was with Michael and Kobe. And there's not that unyielding, unbending desire to destroy you that those guys had, right? You just don't get that feeling with LeBron. I've talked about it. There's tons of stories about there about Michael Jordan and Kobe. Just go on YouTube, look it up. Go on Google it, right? Go on Bing, whatever you use, whatever your search engine is, do that. There's tons of stories out there. There's really not a lot of stories like that about LeBron. Yeah, you'll hear stories about great games he's had, but not those kind of stories. And that's odd to me, especially being that this is the social media era, right? Because if these things were happening, guys would be running to their phones to put it out there right afterwards. Think about it. Kobe and Michael Jordan, they didn't care if you liked them or not. They were too busy trying to do everything they could to win, but not just to win and to crush the opposition completely in doing so. Like, that's all they cared about, right? And again, LeBron doesn't make you feel that way. Meanwhile, LeBron and his team, they're not just doing everything possible to win. They're doing everything they can to convince everyone that LeBron is something he isn't. And that's on the level with Kobe and Michael, right? Yes, again, he's had an incredible career. And maybe, I hadn't thought about this before, maybe it's testament to LeBron's greatness that he can win and has had the level of success that he's had without being as psychotic about winning and destroying the opposition as Kobe and Mike were, right? Maybe that's testament to his greatness and to his natural gifts. Maybe so. I hadn't thought about that. That could be it. But to me, I don't really see it that way, but I could be wrong, right? But doesn't that show you that LeBron isn't that savage competitor that Kobe and Mike talked about? If he was, would he care what people thought, or would he just show them on the floor? Like, I really don't think that Mike and Kobe cared what people thought, because they knew that when they stepped between those lines, they were going to show you, right? So, this LeBron thing, to me, it's just weird, especially in this case, right? So now we hear, again, from a secondhand perspective, we hear Kobe saying, like, LeBron is not built like that, right? So he's an all-time great career, no doubt about that. I keep saying it. He's had one of the greatest careers ever. But it's hard for me to put him up there with the greatest players ever. Now, I know for some of you that may be difficult to understand, that there's a dichotomy between greatest career and greatest player. You can have a great career without being one of the greatest players. That's a story for another day, but that's how I see it. There's a difference between the two. And one of the biggest things for me, and we continue to get back to it, is not only the lack of fear, but on some levels, the lack of respect and adulation that we hear for LeBron from the other all-time greats. Now let's not get, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that all-time greats don't respect LeBron and what he's done, right? Like Oscar Robertson loves LeBron. I think he believes LeBron is the greatest player of all time. Now, for me, there's a simple reason behind that. I think that claim is self-serving. I think Oscar Robertson sees so much of LeBron and the way LeBron plays he sees so much of himself and how he played in the way that LeBron plays today. And since when they talk about the all-time greats, unless you're, really old and of that generation, no one really talks about Oscar Robertson, the big O, as great as he was. No one talks about that. And so he's utilizing this discussion and LeBron to kind of bring back attention to himself. So I really feel like that's self-serving. But yeah, most of the all-time great players, for the most part, yeah, they give LeBron credit for what he's done, but most of these guys don't think he's better than Kobe, and I think very few think he's better than Michael, right? Because I think you've heard McGrady, you've heard Shaq, you've heard Allen Iverson, you've heard Charles Barkley. All these guys have said, listen, LeBron is great, but how are we just skipping over Kobe? Like, that's something that you hear constantly, right? So think about this. People don't talk about LeBron James the way they talk about Kobe, the way they talk about Michael Jordan, the way they talk about Isaiah Thomas and Magic and Bird. They just don't, right? Yes, he's all-time great. And he should be getting even more attention, and they should be talking about him even more because of the era that he lives in. But think about this, right? We just finished talking about Kobe and Jordan being the savage competitors. If you're old enough, you know that Isaiah Thomas, when he was playing, they used to say that he would, he would stab you in the heart to win a basketball game. You heard on the clip Kobe saying he and Mike are the type of guys that'll kill you and kill your whole family to win, right? Magic, he was smiling all the time, but his psycho-competitive obsession to win was well known. Larry Bird, this is the dude that he loved the fact that he was a slow white guy who nobody thought could play. He was destroying dudes and talking to them, right? He was destroying guys. Remember, we see the picture of Larry Bird getting into it with Dr. J, and Dr. J's hands on Larry Bird's throat. Why is that? Because I believe that was a game where the Sixers were playing the Celtics, and in the third quarter, Larry Bird had already outscored Dr. J either 42 or 44-6. And with every basket, he was talking to him. He was talking to Dr. J, right? So Larry Bird is cooking you, torching you, and he's talking the whole time. There's no stories like this about LeBron James, right? And that's not just some average dude. That's an all-time great that Larry Bird is talking to, right? Okay. So again, there's no stories about this. There's no stories like this about LeBron. And so whether you believe that LeBron is better than all those guys or not, and that's cool if you do, that's your opinion. I'm not mad at that, right? The fact is they don't see him or talk about him the same way. Doesn't that strike you odd? Doesn't that strike you as odd? Like I said, Allen Iverson, Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, McGrady. These are all-time great players, all of them Hall of Famers, and they're all saying the same thing. Why are we just skipping right over Kobe and going to LeBron? Hey, LeBron's own teammates don't see it that way, right? I did a show a while back. You can check on the channel discussing Mario Chalmers, who won 2 chips and went to 4 finals with LeBron as a teammate, saying the opposition didn't fear him like they feared Michael Jordan. Ray Allen won a championship with LeBron James. We know that in Miami, right? He beat him with Boston first. Then he went to Miami, played with him, won a championship. Guess what Ray Allen said? On his top 5 players of all time, or correction, his top starting 5 of all time, he's got LeBron off the bench. He doesn't even have LeBron in his top 5. Now, granted, that's someone's opinion, but that's the opinion of someone who competed against him between those lines. That's someone who played with him up close and personal every day for years. That's someone who competed against Kobe at the same position, shooting guard. That's somebody who competed against Michael Jordan at the same position, shooting guard. And he's not in Ray Allen's top 5. This stuff has to tell you something. Now we hear Kobe saying it. He isn't built the same. People keep telling us who LeBron James is. Why don't we believe him? All right, that's it for this episode. Definitely want to hear your comments on that. What do you think of Gottlieb's story regarding Kobe Bryant and what he had to say about LeBron? Do you think LeBron is built the same way? Give me your thoughts. Put it in the comment section. Can't wait to hear from you. Can't wait to respond to him. And I'll be back with you next episode. And I'm out. Peace.